Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Join us for our show on Blog Talk Radio. Discover your spiritual gifts live.
Thank you and welcome to Discover Your Spiritual Gifts podcast. My name is Vialet. Dave is on vacation today, so he will be missed, but I hope he's having lots of fun in Vegas because that's where he's hanging out this week. I'm excited today. My guest is Melanie Barnum. She is a certified hypnosis, intuitive counselor, author, and coach. She has written lots and lots of books. I have several of them in my store. I also have her Intuition at Work book with me today. I pulled it off my bookshelf here in my office, but we carry several of her books. Welcome, Melanie, to the show.
Hi, Vialet. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
happy to be here.
I love it. So we always like starting to talk to our guests about their spiritual journey, what led them down the path to what they do today, because we find that a lot of our listeners have similar experiences and how they get led down this path. So share with us a little bit of, have you always had these gifts or did they come in at a certain time? What happened in your story?
So what was interesting to me is that I've always felt like I could read people, but I never knew that everybody else didn't do that. I thought that that was like the norm. So I never thought it was anything special. So pretty much my whole life, I kind of grew up being able to, like I said, read people and, feel them, feel their energy. And then one day, right after I had had my first daughter, I was standing in my dining room and I was holding her and I felt like I was hit over the head and I heard the words, "You need to do this work now." And I had been the controller of a company and I had left that position so that I could open up my own store, my own boutique, a children's store after I had my daughter because I didn't want to leave her. And all of a sudden, like I said, I felt like I was hit over the head and I heard these words, and those are the only words I heard, but I knew immediately what they meant, like what the words meant. What they were trying to tell me was that I needed to do psychic work and I needed to do healing work and I needed to help other people. And I kind of looked around and said, no, like that's just craziness. I was, like I said, I was the controller of a company. I owned my own store now. My background was really in accounting. So even though when I was younger, I had always had these like flashes of things, like I always had flashed to owning a boutique, and I never even put it together until recently that was the boutique that I owned, was when I owned my children's store. I never put that together until recently, but I've always had like these flashes. But then, as I said, when this happened, I was like, no, I'm not just going to hang a shingle out on my door and say that says psychic readings, because I was too left and right brained. I needed to have both sides. And I needed to learn the basis for intuitive awareness and, what made that work for some people and not so much for other people. Because again, I'm very rational as well. And I am a skeptic. So I know it sounds crazy. I've been doing this work for over 20 years professionally, but I am still very skeptical. So, when people tell me things, like I need some basis there. And I needed to kind of learn for myself what it meant to do this work and how it all kind of worked together. So essentially I went and I trained and I did a lot of workshops and classes with famous people and also not so famous people. And I realized that I was actually pretty good at this, and it made sense and it made me happy and it felt right. And here I am today.
Well, I love that because, lots of people struggle with trying to make sense of their gifts. They want concrete evidence that this is really happening. And sometimes that can be really difficult in this realm. And so I love how you approach it, even in your books, of if it can make your life better, why wouldn't you utilize it? Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you trust that, just like you trust your seeing or your smelling? And I think that's cool because so many people struggle with that.
Yeah, I mean, we have our physical senses that we trust because they're tangible, right? We can touch things, we can hold things in our hands, we can, see something and then touch it and know that it's real. The problem comes along when we try and kind of tap into those intangible senses, those intangibles, it's those tricky intangibles that we can't quite, grasp in our normal day-to-day reality, because it's harder. It's harder to understand them. It's harder to figure it out. And it's harder to prove that, our other senses, our extrasensory perception is working.
Right, right. So those that are listening that are trying to figure out what their psychic senses are or gifts, because I know you teach some of this too in some of the classes that you offer. What do you tell people? I'm sure you have people that come to these programs and go, I don't have any gifts. How do you help them and guide them into understanding how to tap into the gifts that they naturally have?
So one of the first things is that people have to be open. So if you're coming, if you're approaching this with the idea that, I'm going to keep my arms crossed, I'm going to hold myself back until somebody proves to me that this is real, then it's going to be that much harder for you to tap in and utilize your own intuitive awareness. But if you come to it with a place of, I'm open and I want to understand, then it becomes much easier, because the reality is it's you that has your own gifts. It's you that can develop them and make them, bring them to the forefront more. So if you're open, then that means you're ready. You're ready to start exploring. You're ready to start opening them up. And for the people that want to know, what their specific gift is, usually we do some exercises, we do some practices. So, if you came to me and you said, I want to know what kind of intuitive abilities I may have, and I've never talked to you before, I've never seen you before, one of the first things that I would tell you is pay attention to how you talk about it. Pay attention to how you share stories, because usually the way that you talk, the language that you use, is kind of a dead giveaway as to what you're more prevalent with, what sense you're more prevalent with. So, say I asked you to explain your day, and you say to me, oh my God, it felt so long. I feel like, this is, everything's going to go really well, but I feel like it's taking a while or whatever. You're using the feel words. So to me, that's kind of a dead giveaway that you're more prevalent with your feeling senses or your clairsentience. That's kind of your gut instinct. That's your, you feel things. If you came to me and you said, oh man, I see that this is happening now, and I see that we need to do it this way, or I see that, this is going to be the best idea or the best way to go, then right away you're talking about seeing. So that tells me that your senses are more prevalent with visual clues. And so you may be more clairvoyant or tuned in more to your visual psychic senses.
I love that, because I teach people that the same way. It's like, pay attention to what people are telling you when they're giving you information or when you're receiving a reading, because you can tell what they're tapping into. I see, I feel, I hear, tells you exactly what psychic sense they're utilizing. Now, I get this question a lot from my students and my community. Do you believe that everyone has intuition?
So it's our birthright. We all have an intuitive gift. It doesn't necessarily mean that, it's going to be the same as your neighbors or that it's going to be what you expect it to be. But we all are born with this innate sense of intuition. And it's really up to us to develop it further if we want. And the more we use it, the greater it becomes. Now, having said that, people always ask me, is psychic ability and intuition the same? And the way that I describe it, in it being a little bit different, is that, not everybody is going to want to be a professional psychic. So everybody has an intuitive awareness or intuitive senses. Not everybody is going to take it as far. So just like anybody can hit a key on a piano, not everybody is going to be Mozart. Everybody can tune into their intuition, but not everybody's going to be a professional psychic. It's just not, what everybody would even want to do, let alone, the abilities that they need to be able to do that. So everybody is intuitive. Not everybody has it on the same level, but it can be developed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely so. So do you get students like I do that are like, I really want to see, I really want to hear, I really want to know, right? And that may not be their first. I feel like everybody has one gift that's stronger than the rest. And as they develop, others come online and you start tapping in to multiple gifts. Because I know when I first started, I felt everything and now I have all of them. But it's taken me working with them over time to bring them up and to really develop them. But I'll have people that'll be like, I really want to see. And they want to develop that. What would you tell people that want to develop one gift or another? Are they able to do that? Or is it just a natural way that they show up?
They're definitely able to do that. You can definitely practice and develop your separate gifts. And one of the things that I tell people also is allow your helper gifts to come in, because most often or more often than not, we won't just have one ability. And as you said, as you practice more and you get deeper into it, the more the abilities open up and you just start kind of like, people ask me all the time, well, what do you use when you do readings? Well, I use whatever they give me, like however it comes in, however the information comes to me, that's how I use it. So sometimes it's clairvoyance, sometimes it's more clairsentient, sometimes, clairaudience, sometimes claircognizance, like, the hearing, the seeing, the feeling, the knowing. I utilize and use whatever they give me. But if somebody comes along and says, I want to be able to see more, then again, it's all about the practice. And in all of my books, I have exercises on developing specific gifts that you may or may not have naturally. And so, if you want to be able to see better, then you need to start practicing using that ability. So one of the things that I would tell people is, practice it with your physical senses first and start paying attention. Like, I happen to have some of my psychic symbols oracle cards next to me. So I just pulled out a card. It's the playground card. So I would tell people, okay, start practicing with your psychic or with your physical senses first. Look at the card and notice every single detail about it as you're looking at it, and then put it away and think about everything that you saw, everything that you may be able to remember about what you saw. Because when you start to tune in with your physical senses, then that enhances your metaphysical senses as well. Okay. So the more you can practice using your actual physical eyesight, the more you can then start practice using your metaphysical eyesight. It's like you're training your muscles.
I love that. I love that because I think we all can really develop these gifts. It's just a matter of sitting with them and working with them over time is kind of really, really important. So let's just take a break and we'll be right back. We have some news from some of our practitioners at our center. Hi, I'm Vialet Rain, Master and Teacher of Angelic Reiki at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. If you love angels, if you resonate with angels, or you're just interested in learning more about angels, most people really want to consider Angelic Reiki. But Angelic Reiki is more than just working with the angels and learning a new healing modality. It's about ascension. And when you step into Angelic Reiki, you're not only working with angels, but you're working with ascended masters and galactic healers. The angelic kingdom of light, which includes all of those, steps in and helps you be able to hold more light. And what I have found along this journey is it expands your ability to be able to hold light, which raises your frequency, which accelerates your ascension process. So the individuals that step onto Angelic Reiki are really ready to step onto their spiritual path. learn more about angels, ascended masters, galactic healers, learn possibly a new healing modality that they'll use in their life, but also they're ready for those major shifts in their lives to really be on their spiritual path and take their journey to the next level. If you've been thinking about Angelic Reiki, or you'd like to find out more about this beautiful modality, please don't hesitate to contact me, Vialet, at discoveryourspiritualgifts.com, or check out our website under classes. You will find Angelic Reiki there with lots of information about this program and the benefits of taking this course. We hope to see you in class really soon, and I hope to see you at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. So welcome back. We're chatting with Melanie today, and we've been talking about psychic gifts and intuition. You talked a little bit earlier about helpers. Share with us a little bit about helpers and what your meaning is for working with our helpers.
So we have guides and loved ones on the other side, and they are here to help you and to help you to understand the symbolism maybe that you're getting, or the psychic messages or the intuitive messages that you're getting. And these helpers are there regardless, but the more that you start to utilize them, the more that you ask them for specific help, they will be there. So the more you need them, the more you request their assistance, the more that they will be there. Now, there's also the other type of helpers that I was talking about as well, which is, your different senses can kind of help the other senses. So, if you're seeing something, you're not quite sure what it is, then your clairaudience may kick in and help you to understand what you are seeing. So you may hear at the same time. So you have your actual like guides and your deceased loved ones that are there to help you, but you also have your own ability to use your kind of helper senses as well.
Well, and you mentioned symbolism. A lot of people think that your intuition or your psychic gifts are similar to our physical gifts. Like they believe that when we see just like I see you today and you see
Right.
me, or when you hear is like this conversation going back and forth. And what you have to realize is our psychic senses are different, and symbolism is really, really important for us to be able to piece the information together. What can you share with us that people that are trying to tap into their intuition so that they understand that it's like our physical, but not like our physical senses? It's different.
So think about it this way. Your helpers, your guides on the other side, right? They're going to try and get you the information any way they can and in the simplest way possible. So they're going to send you symbolic images, thoughts, feelings, sounds that will help you to understand the messages that they're trying to send. So imagine you only had 1 second to tell somebody something. What would be the easiest thing to do? Would be to use some type of symbol so that it can give you a greater understanding or a broader perspective of the message they're trying to send to you. And they're going to give it to you in the easiest way possible, because it's already difficult enough trying to connect to the other side and trying to connect to your intuition. So why not make it more simple for us? And that's exactly what they're trying to do. Now, the problem comes along when we assume that we know exactly what the symbol is or what the symbol means. So like if I'm doing a reading for somebody, let's use one from a while ago. It's in one of my books. She had asked me about her mother, whether her mother was trying to come in and connect. And if I had not written down that I had seen a turtle in my mind, because I blew it off thinking that's ridiculous. I didn't know at the time whether the turtle was symbolic or whether it was literal. But if I hadn't written that down and said, oh, well, all she was giving me was a turtle, I don't know what that means, then I wouldn't have shared with her that her mother was here, because she literally used to give her little turtles, little pewter turtles, and she had one in her pocket. Now I saw it as symbolic. I saw it as a symbolic, turtle, slow down a little bit, slow your life down. So what it really was a literal translation. And so in a roundabout way, I know that was a little long and drawn out, but in a roundabout way, it can be symbolic information that they give to you really, really quickly, or that you receive really quickly. but you can't ever write off that there's a possibility that it's literal or that it means something else to someone else. So, symbolism is very important and is very key, but you also have to be open to interpreting it differently.
And you have to share it. Sometimes we will interpret it and give it to them, like the turtle. They're telling me that you should slow down, and you don't tell them it's a turtle. You have no idea that the turtle was a different thing. So I love that example, because sometimes I always try to, as I'm communicating with people, to definitely provide them what I'm seeing, hearing, or knowing exactly. Because you're right, many times they'll be like, oh, yes, that's what it is. And I'm trying to figure out, what does the turtle mean? I know what the turtle means to me, but what does it mean
exactly
in relation to this? So I love that story. And I love trusting intuition. I love your most recent book, Intuition at Work, because finding ways for people to tap into their intuition at work, I think, is so important. And I don't think we've really had an opportunity to be able to do that. So talk to me a little bit about your inspiration on writing this book, Intuition at Work, and what got you to this point of writing it, because I love the approach.
So every year I get together with a group of women, and they are amazing. And they're, everywhere from authors to therapists to lawyers to, homemakers. Like, there's a whole different group. And I was talking one day about, I'm going to start another book. And I started talking about how I really wanted people that weren't, normally into the psychic thing, normally into that genre. Like, I wanted them to understand that it crosses over. Like, we use our intuition in our regular lives. You don't have to be into the woo-woo stuff, you don't have to be like a huge believer in any of it. But it affects our lives every single day. And so we started discussing how we could use our intuition at work more. And that's how kind of the book was born. I wanted to be able to connect kind of both sides, be able to have people that weren't really into or believing in psychic ability to understand how their own intuitive awareness can help them in kind of getting ahead in their own lives and their own businesses. And intuition is really a play on words as well, because our intuition at work, because it means using your intuition at work and to, kind of get the best career, the best job for yourself, and figuring out and manifesting that for you. But it's also about putting your intuition to work for you. So it's a little bit, like I said, a play on words, but it was really a book that was born from the idea that everybody uses their intuition. And the more you know about it, the more you start to access it. And it can help everybody in every way.
And I love the play on words, right? Because my husband's not into this. He's very much a scientist. So he's a rocket scientist. So it's all about facts and proving stuff. So when I talk about intuition or my psychic abilities, he's very kind and sweet to me and goes, uh-huh. But he really doesn't get it. But every once in a while, he'll say something that I'm like, oh, he's tapping in, whether he realizes it or not. Because most people will talk about my gut feeling. My gut is telling me this, or I'm hesitant to do this. And what they don't realize is a lot of that is your intuition guiding you along this path. And so it is a play with words. It's the same thing. It's just labeled differently. So I love when we can combine those and see the benefit of bringing all of those into play.
Well, it's interesting that you said that your husband is a scientist. So he's very, scientific about everything. And that was one of my criteria, was I wanted to know the science behind how this worked. So when I first started out, I took a class, like a week-long class, became certified in it, and practiced coordinate remote viewing. And remote viewing was started, like, it's, there's two different sides to it. Remote viewing could be that you're seeing things psychically, or that you are doing something called coordinate remote viewing, which our government created and, made this program for our government to have like psychic spies. And they did it scientifically. They, did it through scientists at the Stanford Research Institute. And they literally put together this scientific protocol so that everybody can be taught how to do this coordinate remote viewing. And coordinate remote viewing is about taking random coordinates and assigning them to a person, place, or thing in a time or space unknown, and being able to kind of visit that site psychically, or visit that site along the timeline, the scientific timeline, that really isn't a timeline. It folds and bends and, goes all over the place. So a lot of what I discovered was the science behind it. So my book, actually, Psychic Vision, has both sides. So it has the scientific side, the government, like psychic spy trained people learn on. And then it also has the psychic side, which is, what we're talking about, the clairvoyance and all of that. And I talk a lot about both. So maybe your husband should read that book, because there is, I understand where he's coming from. Like I said, I am very skeptical myself. Like, I don't just believe that everybody does this, or the people that, are saying that they can do this. I don't just believe them randomly. Like, I need some information from them to understand it and to believe it. So I get what your husband's saying. I get where he comes from. And like I said, I have that same left, right brain thing going on. So,
he keeps me balanced, right? Because he'll question some things that I say, and he'll go, what does that really mean? And what is that? And so, or he smiles at me. So I love that whole aspect of having that balance between both worlds. Because I worked in the business world too, not in the same way, but I was in human resources and dealing with people. And what I found was I used my intuition. Is the reason I was so good at what I did was intuitively. I hired people, I made decisions based on that intuition and gut feeling, and just didn't realize it till years later that that's what I was doing. So, people out there are probably using their intuition without really realizing that that's what's coming through and that's what they're utilizing.
Always. We use our intuition every single day. We just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And we ignore it quite often as well. So, there's kind of both sides. You can live blissfully unaware, or you can dive into it and let it help you more,
Absolutely. So talk to us a little bit, because I noticed that you have some classes and services that you offer on your website. You have lots and lots of books. Like, I'm amazed at how many books that you have out there. How many do you have today? Do you know how many you've written and published?
Yep. So my Intuition at Work is my 8th book that's published. So, and I have a great publisher, Llewellyn, worldwide. So you can go onto their site, find all my books, or you can go onto my website, find my books, obviously. Mm-hmm. But essentially, almost all of them are books that are about kind of using your intuition, and stories that I share of real life readings, or of things that I talk about with other people that have tuned into their intuition. And I use them in a way to help kind of get my point across of what we're talking about, and, how you can develop something, or what it can do for you if you do develop it. And they all have exercises so that you can practice, because like I said, the more you practice, the better off you will be to be able to utilize your own intuition.
Well, I know we carry in the store your psychic vision. I have that. Your psychic development beyond beginners, your psychic abilities for beginners. I wasn't aware of some of these others, so I'll have to check that out. The Book of Psychic Symbols, because I love talking about symbolism, because people don't realize that spirit talks to us with symbols, and so they miss some of those opportunities. So I love that. And of course, we have Intuition at Work too, so I'll have to check out some of your others. But I also noticed on here this morning, you've got a class called Psychic Bootcamp.
Yeah.
I believe I saw. So is that an online class? How does that work?
The Psychic Bootcamp is, and actually, I don't think it's on my website yet, but it is a course that is about developing your intuition. So it's about helping you to kind of tune in. So for people that are brand new, you're going to get exercises and kind of, explanations as to what it is, what it means. And then for people that have already been practicing, it's just, it helps you to polish up. It helps you to kind of sharpen. Everybody can practice together. This is another question I get a lot. Like if you're brand new, can you practice with people that are intermediate or that have been doing it for a while? And my answer is always the same. Everybody can practice together, because the more that you're practicing with other people, the more you raise your awareness. You elevate your own gifts. And it doesn't matter whether they're on the same level as you or not, because you're all just going to raise your own gifts on your own level. So it's okay to, mix beginners with intermediates or even advanced readers, because you're always practicing and you're practicing the same basic gifts. So that's what Psychic Bootcamp is about. It's about developing your own intuition and practicing and kind of having some fun with it. So you get to kind of partner up with people that are in the class. It's very hands-on. All my classes are very hands-on, because I feel like you need to do it yourself in order to learn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So are these set up to where groups, people get to connect within the class, or is this just an online platform where they work through the exercises and information? Because I know online programs or offerings are different ways that they're offered.
So the way that I do it is that I'll have the best way that I have found is that I have, a group that has signed up for the class. And depending on how many people there are in the class, we could do breakout rooms. And so people can practice individually, like one-on-one with somebody else, with a partner. But we also do practice and exercises together in that workshop.
Cool. Very awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Melanie, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. You can check out her website, Melanie, Melain. Wow, I really lost it. Melanie Barnum, BARNUM.com. And we will have that website on Blog Talk Radio, so you can check it out. I really appreciate you hanging out with us today and being on the show. And if you're ever in Denver, we would love to host you at the store to do a book signing or a class.
I would love that.
If you ever come out this way or travel, we love to have people in our retail shop to do book signings and to do classes. So if you're ever in the area, please let us know. I'd love to meet you in person and get to see you, in the physical, right?
Right.
In the space. So I would love that.
Me too. I would love that. I was out in Colorado a few years back doing an event for my publisher. So it's possible I'll come back out again and come see you in Denver.
Well, you never know. Sometimes Llewellyn does INATs here in Denver where the authors come out. And so that's always a great opportunity to get you in the store. I know INATs hasn't done their public one in a while, so hopefully this year maybe they'll be able to in June. We'll see. But if you ever come out, we would love to host you at the center.
Thanks. I would love that.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you will stay tuned for some of our commercials at the end, and we look forward to seeing you at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts or on our next podcast.
Hello, my name is Trina Schneider, and I am a spirit medium and intuitive reader. I also offer angelic Reiki and crystal healing. I was born an empath and have seen and heard spirits since I was a little girl. For many years, I ignored my gifts, but knew I was meant to be a healer. I started my journey doing private yoga sessions, and yoga helped me to reconnect with my mind, body, and spirit. I was then led to an intuitive mentor and took her classes to find out who I was and what my spiritual path should be, never thinking it would lead to a complete career change after being a hairstylist for 30 years. My spiritual path is a never-ending journey of healing myself and helping others. I consider my readings to be sacred and use prayer, meditation, and call upon my ancient Puebloan ancestors, angels, and other guides. In my readings, I view your energy through a rose. I connect you to your relevant past lives, bring in messages from your spirit guides, angels, and ancestors. I read the layers of your aura through your chakras to uncover blocks, bring in clarity, guidance, and direction for your life path. I do in-person readings that discover your spiritual gifts and remote readings over Zoom. To book your readings with me, please call or text me at 720-334-7754 or contact the center. I look forward to meeting you real soon.
Hi, my name is Christina Morris. I am the founder and president of Balance and Bliss Energy Healing. I'm a medical intuitive and high vibrational healer. I work with the energy fields. My scope of practice is energy medicine. Anything above and beyond that, for outside care, we'll need to refer you out there. But I do use crystals and aromatherapy in my healings. And I help manage pain. We help move some of the pain out of the body that might be coming from stagnant energy within the field, as well as, we get to the root of the problem with, any emotional trauma and find out what's going on that could be causing more stagnant energy to be left in your aura, which in turn can cause illness and pain and a lot of other issues that we tend to see throughout our day-to-day lives. And then I can be reached by appointment. You can make appointments anytime, any day of the week. I do work Monday through Friday in the evenings from about 5:30 to 8:30. Your first session can be about an hour and a half because we get to know one another. We kind of go through what's going on. And then any session thereafter would run about 50 minutes to an hour. And I can be reached through my website at balanceandblissenergyhealing.com. My email is balanceandblissenergyhealing@gmail.com. And I can also be reached via phone or text at 720-696-0286. And I look forward to any, potential clients. If you have any referrals or if you are in need of any of my services, I look forward to working with you.
I am Lisa Laney, two-time international best-selling author, teacher, intuitive artist, reader, and healer at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. I am a very creative, artistic person who has been an intuitive empath my whole life. As a child, I was always aware of energy. I could detect shifts as people entered the room, which I thought all people could do. I didn't realize I was an empath until much later in life. I have studied various modalities, attended several retreats to peel back layers of childhood experiences to create a toolbox I use to navigate this world with intention. I am now pairing my intuitive gifts with my creativity to live an intentional life and empower other women to shine their brightest light, to manifest an abundant life with creativity and intention. If this resonates with you, join me at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts the first Thursday of each month at 6:30 at my Women's Intention Play Shops. The focus of each class varies on a different intention to heal, inspire, and empower each of you with a simple art project. In this class, we set the intention into what you create, so when you bring it home, you are reminded of what you are manifesting or releasing each time you look at it. This keeps the energy moving, which helps you create a more empowered version of yourself. If you prefer one-on-one time, I offer intuitive tree readings. You simply draw me a tree any way you feel guided. Coupled with your intention, we edit the tree so you have a visual of how you want to create a life of joyous empowerment. If this is calling you, I can be reached at 720-257-9441 or at lisaelaney.com. Tap into your inner magic to create an amazing toolbox of your own by joining me, Lisa Elaney, at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Join us for our show on Blog Talk Radio.